Preparing for a graduate interview. Questions and answers at Bendigo and Adelaide Bank interview. You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 20 key questions you're likely to face. For each question you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. Why do you want to join Bendigo and Adelaide Bank? I want to join Bendigo and Adelaide Bank because it combines the scale and sophistication of a major Australian bank with a strong connection to customers and communities. I am attracted to roles where trust, service, and commercial judgment all matter. The graduate program would let me build technical banking skills while rotating across different areas and learning from experienced colleagues. I would also value contributing to an organization whose success is closely linked to the communities it serves. While answering, connect your motivation to customer ownership, community impact, mutual style values, Australian banking, career development, and the opportunity to combine commercial performance with responsible outcomes. Question 2. What do you know about Bendigo and Adelaide Bank? Bendigo and Adelaide Bank is a major Australian financial institution providing retail, business, agribusiness, wealth, and other banking services. I associate the bank with its strong community banking heritage, regional relationships, and customer-focused approach. It operates in a highly regulated industry, so sustainable performance depends on disciplined lending, sound risk management, digital capability, and trust. I would expect employees to balance customer needs with responsible decisions that protect depositors, shareholders, and the broader community. Make sure to cover the bank's Australian focus, retail and business banking activities, community banking heritage, customer ownership approach, regional presence, and the importance of maintaining strong capital, liquidity, and risk controls. Question 3. Why are you interested in banking rather than another industry? Banking interests me because it sits at the center of economic activity. Banks help households buy homes, businesses invest and create jobs, and communities manage financial uncertainty. I also like the combination of analysis and people skills. Decisions require understanding financial information, but they must also reflect customer circumstances and risk. The industry offers varied career paths across lending, risk, finance, technology, and customer operations, while requiring high standards of judgment and integrity. In your answer, talk about banking's role in the economy, analytical and interpersonal demands, exposure to different industries, regulatory responsibility, and how the sector lets you support households and businesses through important decisions. Question 4. Tell me about a time you demonstrated customer focus. During a University Society event, attendees were confused about registration and several began queuing in the wrong place. I spoke with them directly, identified the main points of confusion, and created a simple sign-in flow with clear instructions. I also briefed volunteers so the process stayed consistent. Waiting times fell noticeably, and feedback improved during the rest of the event. The experience taught me that customer focus means noticing friction early and making the solution easy to use. Be sure to mention the customer's underlying need, how you listened, what action you personally took, how you managed expectations, and the measurable or observable improvement that resulted. Question 5. Describe a time you worked effectively in a team. In a group consulting project, our team had different views about how to structure the analysis. I suggested agreeing on the decision criteria first, then dividing the work according to each person's strengths. I owned the financial analysis and shared an early draft so others could challenge assumptions before the deadline. That approach reduced duplication and helped us produce a coherent presentation. It reinforced that effective teamwork requires clarity, openness to challenge, and accountability for individual deliverables. Focus on the team's shared objective, your specific contribution, how you handled different working styles, the communication methods used, and the result rather than describing everyone's actions generally. Question 6. Tell me about a time you had to manage competing priorities. While studying, I had an assignment due during the same week as casual work shifts and a society commitment. I listed each obligation, estimated the effort required, and scheduled the highest risk tasks first. I also spoke early with my manager and arranged one shift swap rather than waiting until the conflict became urgent. Everything was completed on time, and the assignment met the required standard. I learned that prioritization works best when supported by early communication. Make sure to cover how you assessed urgency and importance, communicated constraints, organized tasks, protected quality, and reflected on what you would improve in future situations. Question 7. Describe a time you made a mistake and how you handled it. In a spreadsheet for a student project, I initially linked one calculation to the wrong cell. I noticed the inconsistency during a review, told the team immediately, corrected the formula, and checked related outputs rather than fixing only the visible error. We submitted an accurate analysis. Afterwards, I added a review checklist covering formulas, assumptions, and totals. The key lesson was that owning an error quickly protects the team and creates an opportunity to strengthen the process. In your answer, acknowledge the mistake directly, explain its impact, show how you corrected it, identify the control or habit you introduced, and demonstrate that accountability matters more than defensiveness. Question 8. How would you handle an upset banking customer? I would remain calm, listen fully, and acknowledge the customer's frustration before trying to solve the issue. I would confirm the facts, check what I am authorized to do, and explain available options in clear language without making promises I cannot keep. If the matter required escalation, I would explain why, record the details accurately, and ensure the customer understood the next step and timing. A respectful, transparent response can preserve trust even when the original outcome cannot change. Talk about staying calm, listening without interrupting, showing empathy, clarifying the issue, explaining options in plain language, protecting privacy, escalating appropriately, and following through on promised actions. Question 9. What does responsible lending mean to you? Responsible lending means making sure a credit product is suitable for the customer and that repayments are reasonably affordable based on reliable information. It is not simply about approving or declining quickly. I would consider income, expenses, existing commitments, purpose, likely changes, and any signs of vulnerability, while following policy and regulation. The objective is a sustainable outcome for the customer and the bank, because poor lending can cause financial harm, losses, and reputational damage. Be sure to mention assessing suitability and affordability, verifying information, avoiding unsuitable outcomes, recognizing vulnerability, documenting decisions, and balancing customer support with prudent credit and regulatory obligations. Question 10. What current issue in Australian banking interests you? The effect of higher living costs and interest rates interests me because it affects both customer well-being and bank risk. Borrowers may face reduced disposable income, while lenders must monitor arrears, affordability, provisions, and customer vulnerability. At the same time, deposit pricing and competition can pressure margins. A responsible bank should combine disciplined credit assessment with early support, clear communication, and practical hardship options. This issue shows why financial performance and customer outcomes are closely connected. Choose one issue such as interest rates, cost of living pressure, cyber risk, housing affordability, competition, or digital fraud, then explain effects on customers, margins, credit quality, and the bank's response. Question 11. How do banks make money? Banks primarily earn net interest income by lending at rates above their funding costs, including the interest paid on deposits and wholesale funding. They also generate fees from products and services such as payments, wealth, or business banking. Profit is reduced by operating expenses, technology investment, impairment losses, and regulatory capital costs. Strong performance therefore requires more than growing loans. It requires appropriate pricing, quality credit decisions, efficient operations, and sustainable customer relationships. Cover net interest income, lending and deposit pricing, fees, funding costs, operating expenses, credit losses, capital requirements, and why profitability must be considered alongside risk and customer fairness. Question 12. What is the difference between credit risk and operational risk? Credit risk is the possibility that a borrower or counterparty will not meet contractual obligations, causing financial loss. Operational risk arises from failures in processes, people, systems, or external events, such as a cyber incident or processing error. Both require identification, controls, monitoring, and escalation, but the indicators differ. For example, arrears may signal credit deterioration, while repeated transaction exceptions may indicate an operational weakness. Strong governance depends on reporting problems early rather than hiding them. In your answer, distinguish borrower default risk from failures in people, processes, systems, or external events, and explain controls, monitoring, escalation, and the importance of accurate incident reporting. Question 13. Tell me about a time you used data to make a decision. For a university society, I analyzed attendance data to decide which events to repeat. I cleaned duplicate entries, grouped attendance by event type and timing, and compared results with feedback rather than relying on volume alone. The analysis showed that shorter practical sessions attracted stronger engagement than longer lectures. We changed the format and attendance improved at the next event. I learned that useful analysis begins with a clear question and requires judgment about data quality and context. Focus on the business question, data quality, analytical method, assumptions, interpretation, decision taken, and how you communicated limitations rather than presenting analysis as automatically correct. Question 14. How would you explain a complex financial concept to a customer? I would first establish what the customer already understands and what decision they are trying to make. Then I would explain the concept in plain language, use a simple example, and pause to check comprehension. For instance, I might describe a variable interest rate as one that can move over time, affecting repayments. I would distinguish factual information from advice, stay within my authority, and invite questions so the customer can make an informed decision. Mention understanding the customer's existing knowledge, using plain language and relevant examples, checking comprehension, avoiding jargon, confirming suitability, and never presenting explanation as personal financial advice without authority. Question 15. How would you protect confidential customer information? I would treat customer information as strictly confidential and access only what I need for my authorized role. I would verify identity before discussing accounts, use approved systems and communication channels, avoid leaving documents exposed, and remain alert to phishing or unusual requests. I would never share information casually, even with colleagues who lack a business need. If I suspected a breach, I would report it immediately through the correct process rather than investigating independently or delaying escalation. Be sure to mention identity verification, least privilege access, secure systems, careful communication, phishing awareness, clean desk habits, incident escalation, and the consequences of privacy breaches for customers and the bank. Question 16. What does integrity mean in a banking role? Integrity means making accurate, fair, and transparent decisions even when doing so is inconvenient or commercially difficult. In banking, that includes recording information honestly, protecting confidentiality, following controls, declaring conflicts, and challenging conduct that could harm a customer. If I made an error or noticed one, I would raise it promptly and seek guidance. Trust is central to banking, so short-term performance can never justify misleading a customer or bypassing a required control. Talk about doing the right thing when unobserved, accurate records, transparency, speaking up, managing conflicts, complying with policies, and protecting customers even when commercial pressure encourages a faster or easier choice. Question 17. How would you respond if a colleague asked you to bypass a control to meet a deadline? I would ask the colleague to explain the urgency and confirm exactly which control they wanted to bypass. If it was required for customer protection, compliance, or risk management, I would not circumvent it. I would look for a compliant alternative, such as prioritizing the review or involving an authorized manager. If pressure continued, I would document the concern and escalate through the appropriate channel. Meeting a deadline is important, but not at the expense of control integrity. Explain that you would clarify the request, assess the risk, refuse unauthorized action, suggest a compliant alternative, document relevant facts, and escalate through management or risk channels when necessary. Question 18. How would you contribute to an inclusive workplace? I would contribute by treating colleagues respectfully, listening to perspectives different from my own, and making space for quieter team members in discussions. I would adapt communication when someone needs information presented differently and challenge exclusionary behavior professionally. Inclusion is not only a values issue, it improves decision-making by reducing blind spots and helps teams understand diverse customers. As a graduate, I would remain curious, seek feedback, and take responsibility for creating a constructive team environment. Mention listening respectfully, inviting different perspectives, adapting communication, challenging exclusion appropriately, supporting accessibility, and recognizing that inclusion improves decisions, customer understanding, and team performance. Question 19. What strengths would you bring to the graduate program? I would bring structured problem-solving, reliability, and a willingness to learn. In my studies and part-time work, I have broken ambiguous tasks into manageable steps, met deadlines, and asked for feedback when I lacked context. I also communicate clearly, which helps when translating analysis for people with different levels of technical knowledge. I am still developing my banking-specific expertise, but I learn quickly and would actively seek coaching, practice new skills, and apply feedback. Select 2 or 3 strengths relevant to banking, support each with evidence, explain how they create value in a graduate role, and include self-awareness about a capability you are continuing to develop. Question 20. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and why is this graduate program relevant? In 5 years, I would like to be a trusted banking professional with strong technical foundations, sound judgment, and experience delivering value to customers or internal stakeholders. I am open to discovering whether my strongest fit is in business banking, risk, finance, technology, or another area. The graduate program is relevant because rotations would expose me to different functions, while coaching and practical responsibility would accelerate my development. My immediate priority would be learning thoroughly and contributing consistently. Make sure to cover realistic progression, technical foundations, rotations, relationship building, contribution to customers and teams, and openness to discovering the banking pathway that best matches your strengths. If you are still with us, congratulations! You are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.